I was elated. I think it's hard fought for a lot of folks who really wanted this, and it was just really exciting for us to feel like we can actually accomplish what we set out to accomplish.
Well, Portland Street Response is officially expanding yet again. That's the unarmed group responding to nonviolent calls when people are in some sort of crisis. Oftentimes, it's 911 calls involving those who are living on our streets. Last week, Portland City Council passed a resolution to strengthen the program. The resolution formally establishes Portland Street Response as an equal branch of the city's public safety system, ensures members are not used for homeless camp sweeps, commits to expanding the program 24/7 citywide, and creates a community advisory committee. We'll get to some of the back and forth on that in a moment. But let's back up and take a look at how we got here. Portland Street Response launched in 2021 when the city was looking at an alternative to police for mental health and homeless issues. The idea came from a group in Eugene called Cahoots, which stands for Crisis Assistance Helping Out on the Streets. Cahoots was around for decades until it ended this past April, citing money problems. They started by running first aid tents at Grateful Dead shows in the 1970s and 80s. For 30 plus years, they worked alongside Eugene police. Instead of officers, Cahoots sent teams of EMTs and crisis counselors to calls involving addiction or mental health crises. In 2012, the U.S. Department of Justice found Portland police had a pattern of using excessive force against people suffering from mental illness. So, the Bureau started training all its officers in crisis intervention, and they are still operating under that settlement agreement. But that wasn't enough for some groups, who pointed out that police were frequently sent out to nonviolent calls involving homeless people. That brings us to 2019, when Street Roots, a homeless advocacy group and newspaper, pitched the idea of having response teams field these types of calls instead of police. Former City Commissioner Joanne Hardesty signed on to the proposal and got funding for a pilot program. It also got unanimous support from city commissioners at the time. The pilot program was scheduled to launch in spring 2020, but it kept getting pushed back after COVID and other issues delayed the hiring process. It officially launched as part of the Fire Bureau in the Lentz neighborhood in February 2021, with 6 staff members covering 4 square miles, responding to calls Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The following spring, so May 2022, commissioners unanimously approved funding to expand it 24/7. In 2024, Portland Street Response was moved out of the Fire Bureau and into the city's Community Safety Division. The progress reports showed the program faced significant challenges that called its future into question, including hiring freezes and the resignations of 2 program managers. Despite those concerns, the city's new mayor, Keith Wilson, and 12-person city council so far has expressed support for the program, setting millions aside in this year's budget to expand it, and now passing this latest resolution, formally showing their commitment once again. And that's how we got here. So last year, when Street Response got bumped from the Fire Bureau, the program had 16 open positions. I'm told they filled nearly all of those. Portland City Council has set aside almost $2 million in this year's budget to add 14 more positions. Here's April Roa, one of the program managers.
That means for us that we're going to continue working towards that. We have a 2-year plan to make that 24/7 happen, and this is getting us through those steps to get to that goal.
Okay, so it is still anticipated to take 2 years until they will have enough staff to operate 24/7. Currently, they respond citywide 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Their next expansion will stretch those hours from 6 a.m. to midnight.
So it's going to be challenging, but I feel like there's a lot of positivity around the program, which also brings a lot of applicants.
And this program, remember, is designed to take the burden off nonviolent crisis situations away from other first responders like Portland Police. April knows that from experience.
I am a former dispatcher, so my experience was I was not always sending the right response to the right calls. And this was a gap that I saw. That's why I joined Portland Street Response, is to be part of that solution. Having somebody in crisis who's outside yelling for help, and I've had officers that have gone out because we needed to send somebody there. There didn't appear to be anything else wrong going on, and they've gone out there and they've tried to connect with folks, and they came back to me saying, like, I felt ill-equipped to be able to handle that, and why did I get assigned to that call?
In a statement, a spokesperson for Portland Police tells me that Portland Street Response is, quote, a valuable piece of Portland's public safety system, and we work with them regularly. We hear on the radio all the time officers asking for PSR, and it gives those officers another option for someone who doesn't need police assistance but needs help in other ways. We're happy to do our part and welcome an expansion of their program. I also caught up with Portland Mayor Keith Wilson. He's optimistic that staff now has the ability to drive people in crisis to shelter or sobering beds. Before, they had to sit and wait with people until a cab got there.
We've normalized leaving people suffering on the street in Portland. We're one of the only cities in the nation that does that. PSR allows us, if a person is down, to rush to that person and help provide life-saving care and support. We should never drive by or walk by somebody on the street. It's been a success, and so expanding success just makes all the smart moves in Portland. Working with counselors, we all, I think, are uniform. PSR is an important resource in our public safety system.
Again, the resolution that passed last week formally establishes the program as an equal partner in the city's public safety system by October. It tells the city's HR department to explore designating PSR staff as first responders, bringing with it the benefits that other first responders receive. We're trying to learn more about that piece and if that means PSR staff could potentially earn a pension if they end up being designated as first responders. We do know the program will get an independent reporting structure and direct dispatch through 911. And a street response advisory committee will begin forming next month. But not everyone inside City Hall was for this latest move. 2 city councilors voted against it. Olivia Clark, who represents District 4, most everything west of the Willamette River, was one of them.
I really felt, Blair, that it was just premature. If they'd brought it back in 6 months or in a year, where we had just more time, more experience under our belt, that would have been great. It's like putting fertilizer on a seedling without any roots, and not necessarily a good thing. That we need to reestablish those roots really firmly in Portland Street Response before we go to 24/7 or make it an independent bureau.
And Councilor Clark also has concerns around that advisory committee meant to provide recommendations for the program's future. She said no money was set aside for it.
If you're going to stop, have to appoint a committee, find the people, go through civic life, another department, another bureau at City Hall, why would you do that? I don't know that we need that kind of a thing, and it just seems like it would slow the process.
Councilor Dan Ryan, who represents District 2, North and Northeast Portland, also voted against the resolution. He was traveling today, but sent us a statement saying in part, I will move forward a resolution that calls for PSR leadership to provide a 3-year, goal-focused strategic plan coordinated across public safety bureaus, including police, fire, and 911, and the mayor's Portland Solutions teams that address homeless issues. He went on, saying, I voted no to Councilor Canal's top-down political resolution because it adds more administrative burdens and unfunded expenses to a now stabilizing, developing program. It's time we focus on outcomes for Portlanders. So, what do you think about the expansion of Portland Street Response? Do you think it's the right move? Why or why not? Email us the story at kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail 503-226-5090.